call this regular meeting of the Rappahannock County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. And we have two new members today, Bill Tekelman and Steph Ritter. Welcome aboard. And otherwise, and Bill's on the end, Steph is the next one. And Chris Bird, Alex Sharp, and Ron Makala. The first item is to review and adopt the meeting agenda, and everybody's got a copy of it or access to it. I had one item to add because Jennifer Matthews and David Connick have been replaced, and it seems in order to have some type of certificate of appreciation or some memory of their service.
Could you give a little more volume?
Okay. It seems appropriate to have some sort of certificate or recognition of their service. So I was going to suggest we add that discussion at the end. And then,
yes, and I'm going to ask that we, under new business, add a understandable route for all the board members, in that because we deal with legal issues, and at times we have applications or whatever, and we have questions, we need to have someone that we can go to get a legal opinion on something. And we don't have that right now, so we need to decide what route we're going to travel, and so that everybody's on the same page.
shall we do that after the public hearings?
And new business.
Oh, okay. Is that agreeable with everybody?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll add those two items. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the minutes, and I don't think we have minutes. Okay. I got a copy of the January agenda, and it was very general. There were no applications tendered, so I'm not sure what we should do about that. We'll cobble together some minutes.
I'd suggest we ask the previous secretary, who
Well, we did.
would probably more than, it's not a lot of work or whatever, but I think he would be more than willing to do that.
I think he took a stab at it.
But
He took a stab at it and didn't do it. Right? Is that right?
I don't know.
Oh, because I got an email, and I think this is what he provided, was the agenda, and just said it was nothing really happened.
You should have minutes for your records.
Okay.
he provided the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll put together some minutes for that. I'll provide them at the next meeting. So, okay, the next item, we have several public hearings, applications. I think we have 4 applications. The first application
Oh, wait a
is...
minute. You skipped over D.
Thank you.
What is D? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, one thing that Mr. Connick was our secretary, and now we do not have a secretary, so we need to decide on what we're going to do about the secretary's position.
Okay, I'm prepared to make a motion, and it has to do with the fact that the secretary on this board or whatever, because of the legal nature of what we do, it's important that the minutes are well-written and basically contain appropriate legal references and case law and the items that we're used to having that Mr. Connick was providing. And he was an attorney, and that's why he could do that. And fortunately, we have a new member who also is an attorney. And I think she would be the person that would be capable of writing these minutes in a manner that is, if and our decisions may or may not go to court, but they have to be well-written, so I'm going to nominate Steph Ritter.
Okay, I was just going to ask a couple of questions about that position. We had, is it clerk in addition to secretary? Or what, no, it's just secretary?
Just secretary.
And what Mr. Connick was doing was actually receiving the applications? Is that right?
He was providing the minutes.
Oh, so how about the other aspects?
Yes, he was responding to various requests for information also.
I wasn't sure what his function, I thought it was more encompassing than just doing the minutes. Like making sure the application was together before it goes to the planning commission. That type of,
The secretary's provided a copy,
of,
the application,
to the planning commission,
when it is applied for.
put it in the file. Okay.
What was I in here?
Well, I was just trying to get, make sure we understood what the secretary was doing.
Yeah,
Which-
what is that?
Because you had served in that role at one.
No, sir.
At one point? No?
No, sir.
Oh, never, okay.
I just want to say that you have to speak into the microphone.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering what other things are involved in addition to taking the minutes of the actual meeting?
We have bylaws, so it should be written in the bylaws.
Okay. I don't know if I have a copy on me. Well,
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure I'm ready to accept without knowing what I'm accepting.
Well, it seems there is a secretary for the Planning Commission who is not part of the Planning Commission, and she takes the minutes and does all of that kind of work there. And it would seem that this is Marlena Lee. And it,
Chris, you need to speak in.
pardon me? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, and it would seem that there are opportunities to find people like her, or her, I mean, whatever, to do this. It seems a little unfair to dump all of this on a new member in the absence of any real job description.
Okay, well, why don't we seek a new member, I mean, a new secretary?
Yeah, that'd be
Good.
great.
And in the meantime, and I don't plan on making this a habit, but I have done minutes before, so I'll do the minutes for this meeting.
That'd be great.
Good.
But is there a recording being made?
Yes, sir.
You are making one?
Yes, sir.
And then that's available too? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what steps will we take to find a secretary?
What about asking the person who does the planning commission and finding out if there's sufficient funds to pay her?
Well, I think we have a budget to pay a secretary. Which
We do indeed.
Yeah.
Mr. Connick was paid for being
Yeah.
secretary,
Oh, yeah, well then.
so it's not an unpaid.
Was it like 150 a meeting?
I believe so.
Okay. So how are we going to do that?
At this point, if you're willing to do the minutes for this meeting, we need to table it
Till we find somebody?
until our next meeting.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion and make a motion to table.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Very well done.
Quick on the
Okay.
uptake.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that is tabled right now. Okay, so the first application, it looks like some of these have amendments to them, so forgive me if I try to keep track of this. But this is an entity called Neighborly Enterprises LLC, which is applied for a tourist home in Rappahannock Lakes, is that correct? Is there anyone here to represent the applicant? Who's here for the applicant? Is there no one here for this application? Oh, wow. Okay. Do we know anything about their whereabouts?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm going to suggest we table this one till the next meeting. Now, should we open it and then close it? Because then we don't have to re-advertise it? Is that? Yes? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to open this application for this special use permit 191101 Neighborly Enterprises for a tourist home. I think this was 2 bedrooms and was modified to 1, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything else to be said about this? I'll continue the public hearing. Is there anybody who had to speak on this tonight? Okay. I'm going to continue this till next month. Do I need to open the public hearing or no? I've opened the application hearing. Gary, do you have anything?
You've advertised the public hearing for tonight. The public's been duly notified that the public hearing is tonight, and anybody who has an interest would know to be here tonight.
Right.
They've had an opportunity to speak. So my recommendation, to open the public hearing and close the public hearing.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the applicant can't provide additional information at another meeting, but you satisfy your legal requirement to receive public comment.
Okay, and we're not precluded from receiving public comment later, I don't think, are we?
Anybody can talk about anything you want.
Yeah.
Public comment, but it would be a public hearing.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess I'll officially open the public hearing. I understand there's nobody here to speak on this application tonight. That's the case? Yes? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'd like to table this till next month, to our next meeting. Is there a motion to do that? Bill?
Motion to table?
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it's going to be tabled. Okay, unanimous. Okay, the second item, the second application is Robert and Elizabeth Easterday for a family apartment. You're here to represent, okay. You may come forward. I haven't done it like this before. You can come forward, actually. Just maybe that seat right there, and there's a microphone there if you want to speak. And you're here, you're the applicant, one of the applicants?
Yes.
Okay.
Robert Easterday.
Okay. And would you tell us just briefly what you're looking to do?
Build a garage and put an apartment above it for my wife's parents to live in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably enough for right now. Now, the planning commission, was there?
The planning commission recommended approval of this application.
Okay. And there wasn't anything special about it? No, okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No, it looked to me like the application was, I mean, the drawings and everything were totally complete, and the VDOT permit and all seems to be in order, so.
And so this is for a family member
Yes, this is 2 family members.
and for at least 2 years it would not be rented?
Correct.
And it's 1,200 or less square feet?
Yes.
And it's within 200 feet of the main residence?
Yes.
Okay. Is it anything else? And there were no neighbors or anybody opposed? could?
No responses were received.
Okay, okay. I think that's fine for right now. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing on this application. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this application?
Hi, everyone. Keir Whitson, Hampton District. I'm also the Hampton District representative on the Board of Supervisors. I want to, first of all, congratulate Steph Ritter and Bill Tiegelman on their appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's good to have new faces and new ideas, and I really appreciate your service. Mr. Tiegelman is one of my constituents, so I'm especially grateful to have him there. I do want to speak to this application only to say that I think this is a perfect use of the family apartment provision of the zoning ordinance. Mr. and Mrs. Easterday have clearly stated an interest in providing accommodations for Mrs. Easterday's parents. It's an excellent way to accommodate aging family members, and they are my constituents. I would appreciate it if you give them fair consideration tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Keir.
No.
Is it anyone else? Okay, I'm closing the public hearing. Is it any questions I'll start with Ron. Do you have any questions?
No question.
I've already asked my questions.
No questions?
No questions.
No questions. Okay. That being said, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Looking over the application, the highway, VDOT has no problems with it. The health department approved it. The planning commission approved it. I see no problems, and I'll make a motion that we pass it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Chris seconded. I forgot I'm supposed to be writing this down. Okay, so who, Ron? Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the third application is Sean Harrigan and Virginia Baker Tourist Home on Grinton Lane. You're here? Okay. And if you would, just tell us a little bit about what you're wanting to do.
Sure. We purchased the property in February of this year. There's an existing apartment.
A little closer to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's an existing apartment above the garage. And it was our plan to renovate that and use it as short-term rental on an occasional basis. We also want to use the space for family members and personal guests to stay there. So, I'm not going to rent it out full-time. It's quite a process, but I think we have all the permits and the health department approval in place to do that for what we've requested.
Okay. Now, there were some questions about permits and so forth. Have you?
Yeah, at the planning commission meeting, I guess we had a hard time finding the permits because frankly, they're so old. Fortunately, the commissioner of the revenue was able to locate the permits, including the permit for the addition on the original structure, the construction of the garage, and then the renovation of the space above the garage into the apartment by the original property owner, Jeff Green. So we have those permits, and I think they were attached to the,
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
the
They are.
package. If not, I have copies.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this constitutes a separate unit?
Yes, the garage is a double-depth two-car garage detached from the main structure. But I should also point out we're full-time residents of the properties. We're not weekenders, so we're on site to manage any potential
Okay.
renters.
Is it any other questions?
The issue had to do with the septic, right? Then you just change the number of people, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
The permits were very old for the septic,
Yeah,
so when the
right.
health department did their investigation, they came back and said that it appears the septic was only approved for 4 bedrooms, when in reality there are 5 bedrooms, 3 in the main house and 2 in the garage
Yeah.
apartment. So we agreed to just amend that to a 2-bedroom house and a 2-bedroom apartment with a maximum occupancy of 8.
Okay, great.
So the apartment is something you're creating?
No, the apartment's there. One
already
of the
there.
permits, the Greens actually did the finishing work
Oh,
on
okay,
that.
so
that's
that
one of
was, that was permitted and everything?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
Okay. Was it the planning commission?
The planning commission was concerned if the existing apartment ever had permits. They did not pass along a recommendation either way due to that unknown fact. But since then, we have found that there were building permits and that everything was
Okay.
permitted.
Okay. Okay, well, no other questions for the applicant? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, going through the permit or whatever, particularly the health department, Mitch Carter seemed to lay out a few questions that were unanswered and haven't been answered, and she felt that probably should be answered. There were just her hitting a few of the points here, a number of the permits for which there's no documentation that the system was installed. The 2-bedroom expansion permit in the name of Jeff Green, which appears to permit increasing the first permit by 2 bedrooms for a total of 4, was a question. And let's see what we got here. This office would be happy to discuss options for resolving this quandary with the property owners and a site visit to clarify the available records is advised. Ultimately, it is determined that the documented system is in fact on tax map 21-2A, and that the garage is connected to that system, and that the issue of the number of bedrooms is resolved. This office is likely to have no objection to the proposal, but I have no indication that that's been done. And also in your application, you state that the house is a 3-bedroom house.
correct.
And now you want to eliminate a bedroom in the house and add 2 bedrooms. And I would be more in favor of saying you have 3 bedrooms in the house and we'll allow you 1 more bedroom in the apartment.
Well, I mean,
It's a 4-bedroom permit.
The health department, when I spoke to Medj, she proposed the 2 and 2 split since it's a maximum of 4 permitted by the septic system. And I think the Summers letter dated June 1st indicates that the office didn't have an objection to the amended proposal as proposed by the health department to change that to 2 and 2.
With some clarifications, because like I said, that letter that she wrote from May 14th indicates that she had a number of questions that had not been answered, and I didn't see anything in the information that stated that they had been.
So what are you suggesting again?
That we, in reference to the health department questions, we have them straightened out, and so that Medj is,
But I think she answered that question.
I'm sorry, but the health department did straighten it out.
Yeah.
She actually made a
Yeah.
statement saying that the 2-2 arrangement
Yeah.
was acceptable. And that's number 2 on the June 1st letter from Ms. Summers. That's what it says. This office has no objection to the proposal as amended. Sounds like
Okay.
to me that answers the
Okay,
question.
yeah, that's
what I'm reading
sounds like
is
it's been
that
answered.
this office is likely to have no objections if, wait a minute. If this office would be happy to discuss the options for resolving this quandary with the property owners, and a site visit to clarify the available records is advised. Ultimately, if it is determined that the documented system is in fact on tax map 21-2A, that the garage is connected to that system, and the issue of the number of bedrooms is resolved, this office is likely to have no objection to the proposal. But there's nothing that says that that has been done, and that they have no objection to the proposal.
Okay, now, Michelle, you had something to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mackler, there was an updated comment from the Health Department placed on Boarddocs that does say that this office had no objections to their agreement.
Was that in our information?
It was a
It was
separate
on Boarddocs,
doc-
sir.
It was a separate, it was an amendment or an
Okay, well,
update.
I missed that. So if in
And I have
fact
it
that's the
displayed
case.
here on the screen for you.
I can't see the screen. It's-
One question, how many bedrooms are in the house, existing house, are currently being used?
Just two. It's just the three of us, my wife and my 7-year-old daughter. So we have
This is it, right?
obviously one bedroom for us and then one bedroom for my daughter.
Okay.
The third bedroom that's in the house is actually currently in use as a library space with built-in bookshelves. You couldn't even use it as a bedroom if you wanted to.
Okay. Okay, is it anything else?
No, I for
Okay.
some reason did not see this on my,
Is it any other,
there's a lot of stuff on there.
you're done?
There is.
Are you done?
So I will withdraw my
Okay.
objection.
Is there anything else? Anybody else? No. Okay, well, you can grab a seat if you'd like. I'm going to open the public hearing right now. Is it anybody here who would like to speak on this application? Yeah, you can get up and introduce yourself.
So my name is Garrett Gable. I live at 132 Grid Lane, so I'm a neighbor
Okay.
with my wife, Ann Grenade, who's not able to be here tonight. We're aware of this application. The couple made it plain to us when they bought the property several months ago that they were intending to pursue the tourist home. We got the letter, of course, recently, which prompted a meeting last weekend between us, them, and the third property owner on Grin Lane. The Sparrows live at number 25. Basically, the area is agriculture, the area is conservation. We are partly in conservation easement. We have agriculture. We are cherries on top, for those of you who remember that, and we keep bees. So the tourist application is sort of new to the neighborhood. We will not stand in their way. We want to be good neighbors. But I have a concern that I'd like to put on the record. Some of you may have been to Cherries on Top at some point in the last years. You may know that the driveway up is very steep and challenging. So in the last 4 months, there have been 2 cars stranded on a driveway that we knew nothing about.
Well, excuse me, you said, and what? You said stranded on your driveway and?
So people who were trying to get to 16 Grid Lane, which is where the property in question, drove past the sign, drove past the sign for 25, which is the Sparrows, which is a 911 sign, blue and white, drove past one sign of ours that said 132, past a gate, went past a sign that said danger, 4-wheel drive only, in a 2-wheel drive car, and was unable to make it all the way up or back. One of those cars was there for several days before it could get towed. My concern is I don't want somebody to get hurt, which is a likely possibility if they ignore the directions, and we certainly don't want to be responsible for that kind of scenario. So our conversation with Sean and Virginia was that they need to really try a little harder to give directions when they give directions to the tourist home, which I'm told they're going to rent 10 to 15 times a month. And my concern is that when those directions are given, however they're being given, they need to be specific enough that people don't go up our driveway. They may go there because they're lost. They may go there because they'd like to take a look at the view. They may go up there because they think there might be some cherries available. All of these things have happened to us. But it doesn't happen often. But it's happened several times in the last 4 months. One was a real estate agent was trying to show the property, got stuck. One was Sean's mother, and one was another relative of Sean's who we found on the wrong side. We have a gate. You're on the wrong side of the gate. So our concern is simply to go on record as saying that we recognize that our driveway is challenging. We have no problem with it. We've been here since 2008. We have guests that come all the time. But in the last 4 months, there have been 2 problems, and I would like that not to be repeated. And if it does get repeated, I'll have to address it somehow.
Okay. Okay.
So we really don't mind them having it, as long as they as long as they go to 16 and not 132.
Okay, thank you.
Fair enough?
Yes, that's fair. Thank you. I do have a question that brought up. Do you have signage?
Yeah, actually, sorry, I only have 2 copies.
Yeah, that seemed like a pretty simple fix.
We repainted the signage on the property. It used to be a natural colored post. I repainted it white. I put a reflective number on there. And we re-accented the arrow for the driveway. And as Garrett mentioned when we met last Saturday, it's my intention to put in the listing clear instructions with those pictures. Encourage daylight arrivals only to avoid any confusion. We want to be good neighbors. Like you said, we're friendly. We get along, and we want to keep that, and we want to keep it peaceful and amenable. So in addition to detailed instructions, I measured the distance from Eileen to the driveway, which I plan to put in the instructions. And should this be approved and we actually move towards reservations, we want to make in-person contact with whoever is going to show up and make sure they're absolutely clear on how to get to the house and the location. Because a little bit of the problem, the first guest that Garrett mentioned was another family member, my cousin, used GPS. Well, as we know, GPS is not very accurate in Rappahannock. So the dot on the GPS is past where the actual driveway is. So that created the confusion. And then, unfortunately, my 83-year-old mother, at the end of a 3-hour drive from Richmond, got a little confused. But I think we're overall in agreement. We want to cause no inconvenience to Garrick and Ann. They're good neighbors. We want to have an open, friendly relationship with them and would do nothing to endanger that. I mean, if it becomes a problem, we're going to be the first to act on that.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I got one other question that's not that big a deal, but you'll be on site. You live, you're permanent residence, right?
Correct.
Adjacent.
Yeah, we're full-time.
And so you're there, so if in case of an emergency or whatever, that they will have access to the house, and that a lot of times we require a landline because cell phone service is iffy at best in this county. But if you are there on a continuing basis, then I think that's not a real issue.
We do have a landline at the house, and we have cell phones with 2 different providers, both that actually get decent signal at the house. So there should be no issue with somebody contacting us if they have questions.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this application? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any thoughts, Ron? Thoughts?
I've had my questions.
Chris?
No question.
Staff? Bill? Yeah, okay. I mean, if there was something we could do to ensure that nobody drove past the driveway, I'm sure we would do it. I think what he's suggested, making the directions very clear, would be helpful, and then to address the problem. I don't know if there's some way to get GPS to be more correct.
Good luck.
Why don't I wonder, are you registered as a Google business, or you might do that? Doesn't that enable you to get a better location?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not everybody uses Google Maps, so it's mapping services are what they are, and out here it's potluck at times.
Okay, well, I think you can locate it on Google Map, and you can move the thing, and that might, I mean, I would think that would help if nothing else. But your comment would be on the record, if that's, is there anybody wish to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd move that the special use permit be issued for this number 20-04-01.
Is there a second?
Second.
Chris beat you to it.
Okay, you got it.
Okay. You'll have to move faster next time.
I'll try.
Okay. Good one. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Okay, the next application is Jennifer Shershell Tourist Home. You're here? Okay. Well, that's helpful. Okay, well, tell us a little. See, you can laugh and you don't have to give it away. You can smile with a mask on.
I can smile with a mask
Yeah.
on. I am. We should just paint it on, right?
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do.
My husband and I are empty nesters. We travel extensively, and we would like to be able to utilize our home in our absence as a vacation rental.
Okay,
It's that simple.
not too complicated.
Nope.
Well, it looks like a great place to go if you're looking for a bed and breakfast. I mean, a Airbnb.
Thanks.
Now, am I correct that the limitation is 12 persons? Is that a limitation in a tourist home? That is a limitation? Okay, I mean, you
believe it is.
have no problem.
I limited it to 10, but if you want
10.
12, knock yourself
No, I
off.
mean, 10 is fine. Oh, okay, I got you.
I mean, with the exception of children, sometimes you'll have families come in that have kids, so within reason.
Okay, and it's approved for 5 bedrooms?
Correct.
Okay. What was the planning commission? Their approval is,
The planning commission recommended approval to the BZA.
no comments? Okay. Is there any questions for the applicant? Chris?
Yeah, there's one problem that was brought up by the Commissioner of Revenue in that, and it's not a huge problem, but the property, in fact, is not tax map 22-4A. It's 22-4C, which we need to address.
Is that correct?
In the application.
I think 22-4C is my mother's property above it. I could be wrong, but I will double check it. There's been a lot of problems recently with the number. But
I made contact with Mary Graham, the Commissioner of Revenue, today to get this straightened out. And in 1999, when the property was divided, it was 22-4A, and when the new survey was submitted, it was
Correct.
parcel 1 and parcel 2.
Okay.
At that point in time, the Commissioner of Revenue, because they don't accept that as parcel 1 or parcel 2, made the property with the house on it parcel 2C. You may not even be aware of it.
Right. Well, I'm surprised because I just went through a refinance and it didn't come up, so I would have thought that would have been an issue.
Okay, and she actually sent me information today, which you should have, because you need to know that. If anybody on the board wants it, and we will have it for the record.
Do you have a copy?
I have a bunch of copies.
What you need for me to do is just make sure that
And like I said, it doesn't really, it does affect the application, in that if we were to pass this application for
you want to make sure
2A,
the correct.
it's not 2A, it's
Property.
2C.
Okay.
So we need to, in our process here, change that.
Okay. I'll gladly take this up so we make sure that we get the right parcel, because some of this came up, and I think there's a confusion between the lower section of 30 acres and the above section, and one is one and one is
The 36 acre,
It's
the
not-
36 acre parcel is 2A.
I'm
The
on
30 acre parcel is 2C.
Okay, so they've inverted them. All right, we'll make sure that we get that
And
clarified then.
is it still 23
23 Fishhawk
Fishhawk Pass? That's the
is
house.
the 911 address
And
for the
that's,
house.
that's the house you're
That's
looking
correct. There's
to.
nothing, there's
Okay.
no house on the other parcel.
Okay.
It'd be hard to sleep in.
Okay, I have another question also. Is the property presently for sale?
It is.
Okay.
And you intend to operate it?
I do.
Okay. Is there any other questions? I don't think, I haven't opened the public hearing yet, so I'll, go ahead, you can sit down. I'm going to open the public hearing on this application. Is it anybody who wishes to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any comments or questions?
The tax map number 22-4A is still correct? Is that right? That's what you know.
He's saying
No.
it's 4C.
It's, according to the Commissioner of Revenue, it is not.
Oh. Here.
Here, you can, I mean, I got
So what is the right tax map?
2C. 4C?
Or 4C,
Oh,
excuse
that's
me.
your, no, it's the same tax map number 22-4A, right? Which is designates the designation of the parcel that's different.
Well, it's saying it's 22-4C.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
Okay, so can we can make that correct?
Yeah, okay,
We
good.
need, yes, I mean, you know, to vote on this, we have to make sure we're voting on the right parcel.
Okay, great.
The other parcel does not have a structure on it, if that's helpful, but yeah, I agree with you. Maybe just get the right
Okay. Now, I mean, that does bring up something that we have done in the past. From time to time, we make the permit go with the owner, and sometimes it goes, or most of the time it goes with the property. I'm assuming in this case, you would want it to go with the property, or you're intending to sell it as a tourist home? You're intending to sell it as a tourist home? No?
No.
So it's only while you own it?
Well, at the time of the application in March and earlier this summer, I was intending to be there full-time. I have attempted to sell this property before and have been unable to do so. Right now, while the market seems to be very active, we are attempting once again to try to sell it. So at this point, I'm in the middle of this endeavor. Whether or not I sell my property, it would still be nice to be able to rent it as a tourist home if I maintain it. If it is maintained with the property, then perhaps that would be an advantage to the next occupant, but
But not necessary for your purposes?
not necessary, but I mean, I haven't advertised it that way, but I don't, I mean,
Okay.
it seems to be.
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Right, I'm already in the middle of this. I would
Yeah,
like to see
okay.
it through.
So in other words, when you made the application, you were not
I
thinking
was
of
not, the
selling?
property was not for sale. It was only,
Okay.
it was listed on Friday,
On Friday?
the property, yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll see if that matters, may not. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think of late, we have been granting these permits, but only for the present owner, and it does not convey if the property is sold. I think that's the route that we should continue to travel.
Does this share a right-of-way with somebody?
It does. It shares the right of way, but the driveway is all on my land. And the right of way is shared with Susie McNally. I am the first house on the drive. She is in compliance. You're happy to talk to her. She's already talked to the people from the
When you
Planning
say in
Commission.
compliance,
She
she's
agrees
okay.
and is
Okay.
supportive. All of the neighbors that I've talked to that have any access are agreeing, and you're happy to ask the one sitting in this room, I guess, if she chooses to speak about that, but
Okay.
I talked to them long before I made the application.
Okay.
I'm not out to make anybody crazy. I just,
Okay.
like I said, we're empty nester.
Okay, that's fine.
Is there not only, there is also, to my, looking at the information or whatever, there is a right-of-way through your property to what is now 4A.
Correct.
And that's owned by your mother? Or-
Correct. Well, my mother's deceased. It's
Oh,
in
sure.
members.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm not troubled by that
Yeah.
myself, but I said I'm not troubled by that myself.
Oh, no,
That's- Okay. Okay, well, I think that's fine. Thank you. Do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion that I have no problem with the application, but that it will only apply to the present property owner. It will not convey.
So when you say you don't have a problem, are you offering to approve it?
Yes,
Is that your motion?
yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm offering to approve it, but it will not convey.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second, but would the, I assume the motion you're making is about tax map number 224C.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I was going to put that as just a note or something
Oh, okay.
on it. I mean, it's a correction. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it should be in the motion that it is in fact, it's 4C, not 4A.
I would just, and I'm going to throw this out. I realize the motion's been made and seconded, so, but if we have a little discussion, I would be inclined to require that a subsequent owner just come forward and for our approval. Is that okay?
Yeah, right.
And not necessarily need a new, we could have a ability to look at it and see if there's been any problems. One of the aspects
So
of
this is without another application?
without another application, but subject to review upon a sale. The reason I say that is because it's a larger property. I mean, the acreage now is 10, and it sounds like it's, sort of contiguous parcels that were sort of related in some ways. And
That's on 30. That house is on 38.
no, I understand. So I think it's not like it's 10 acres, in hotly contested area.
Right.
And I'd say the likelihood, would that be okay with you to modify it? Or
No, I think,
No.
like I said, I don't think that we should pass these things with the idea that, it conveys to the next owner. I think that, you leave that up to the next person that buys it, that they can reapply, no problem. And if it's already been passed one time, then they shouldn't have any problem having it passed. But no, because you don't know what, I mean, we're going on right now on the word of the present owner as to what's going to be done with that property. You sell that property. We've got issues right now with permits that have conveyed that have caused us much problems, and we're in court on one right now. So no, I don't think that those things should convey. I think they should have to come back in and reapply.
Okay. Is there any other thoughts on that? So we do have a motion and a second, so. Motion to,
Would you restate the motion?
my understanding is the motion is to approve the application as submitted, but that the application would run with the current owner and not with the property.
Does this mean we amend the motion?
Well, I mean,
That was the original motion.
that's the original motion and it was seconded.
Okay.
I mean, I'd accept an amendment, but we can also vote on that.
Yeah, I think we should vote on that.
Vote on that?
May I ask a question before you vote?
Sure.
As to what, actually for Mr. Miller, as to what, if that were to convey, only because I have rented rental properties in other places.
Could
I
you
had a
speak into the
rental-
microphone?
Sorry, my mistake. In Cape Cod for 20-some years in a very active tourist area. And so in going through this process, it's been very interesting, unusually so. Thank you for wearing masks at this meeting. What would be the disadvantage for it not to convey? What would happen if it did convey? I guess I understand your concern, but I'm not sure in the scheme of things what a new owner would do differently than an existing owner, because we're all still bound by certain criteria.
Well, I think what has happened is, in the past, all applications ran with the land, and it was not related to the owner. But then we got into some of these situations where it appeared like maybe there would be a big difference, like current owner was willing to do certain things, a future owner might not be so inclined. So, and situations might change. I think
Well,
that's.
COVID is evident of situations changing.
Right.
I mean, I
Okay.
think? Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, you're
We
right.
don't know. I mean, we just don't know.
No,
So-
I'm attempting to answer your question.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
I understand there's a move to withdraw someone's permit for noncompliance.
Yeah, that's a permit.
Is this what we're talking about?
What, excuse me?
Is this what we're talking about? I mean,
I
is
think
it-
that's what Ron must be referring to.
Yeah, because it strikes me if it conveyed, it wouldn't make any difference, because if we could withdraw the one that's under consideration for withdrawal, we could easily withdraw another one.
Well, when you're saying withdraw, I think you mean revoke.
Revoke, right, exactly.
And I mean, I don't think we can just revoke a permit.
No, unless it's for noncompliance or something, say they decided to turn it into
A vineyard?
an office complex, or, and had, who knows, something that wasn't in the deal.
No, we have the ability to revoke a permit, but I don't, that's pretty rare. And, I mean, I only recall one. I guess we did it twice, so maybe that's
Even
two.
then, I don't understand why you wouldn't want it to convey. I'm not really sure I'm clear on the reasoning for not conveying.
Well, I could see that a tourist home is somewhat different from a bed and breakfast. I think typically a bed and breakfast is going to be like a business that, builds up, and it would be a lot of cost value lost, where a tourist home is more of a single family dwelling that is rented out. So it's really not changing
The use of the
appearance.
property,
Well,
correct?
the appearance, yeah. The appearance of the property, and it is typically to one group. You're not renting individual rooms. So it'd be like a family or maybe a couple of families. Are you okay?
I'm gonna move it. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it did rain. I contrary to popular belief, I don't melt, but
What happened?
I said contrary to popular belief, I don't melt in water.
Oh, okay. Is it raining on you?
Yeah, it's,
Oh, shoot, okay.
Oh, we're dripping.
Okay. Well, it's not even raining outside.
yeah,
It seems to me what we're dealing with here is a concern on the part of people in the community to changing conditions. And the idea is that a tourist home is a different use of the property, and it involves some concern and fear on the part of the neighbors as to how this is going to impact their property. This generally has never been the case, but it is a very commonly held belief and concern. And the idea, I feel, is that if the owner of the establishment has to apply and deal with the Board of Zoning Appeals and the neighbors' concerns, they may be more apt to listen to the concerns and the strictures of the law. This should the only downside for the prospective owner applicant is that the application fees and times could be, it's 2 or 3 months and $500, something like that. And against that, you have the concerns of the neighbors and the community. It's questionable because nobody knows who the prospective owner is and what they're going to do. They may not want any part of it. They may be very happy to have it and do it. And that having the application or the permit be subject to the present owner does give the community and the neighbors a little bit more leverage in terms of the downside to them, which I don't think there would be, hasn't been yet, but this is a very commonly held concern in this county about tourist homes. And so that would be the only aspect of having it not convey. But it would seem that a prospective buyer would be very likely to get a special use permit having already, the property having already achieved one. So though that basically is my understanding of the question.
Can I make a point? This property is quite isolated. The easement is for the other driveway is not even visible from the building itself, and the only other people who would share in concern would be her relatives and the McNeelys who are enthusiastically on board. And while this is really an important consideration in a lot of cases, I understand that to be true. In this case, I think it's kind of moot.
One thing that is interesting is we did just approve one on Grinton Lane with no such discussion.
Well, that was my question. If the practice has been previously to give this special use permit and make it run with the land, then it seems to me I will withdraw my second and say that this also should run with the land.
Mr.
So
Chairman.
are you wanting to withdraw your second?
Mr. Chairman.
Who am I talking to?
You.
Well, their voices come from all over the place.
The zoning ordinance sets forth in 17054 that you as a BZA may require a condition of the issuance of the permit for a specific period of time, and then you may grant unto me as a zoning administrator that I can extend it.
Okay. And you can extend it for just indefinitely?
Let me read you the code section. In addition to the time limit set forth in this article, the BZA and the board respectively may require as a condition to the issuance of any special permit or special exception that it be issued for a specified period of time. and then it may be subsequently extended for a designated period by the zoning administrator, so that it may be periodically renewed by the body granting such approval. The procedure of granting an extension or renewal shall be as presented in section 58 of the ordinance.
So it
So the
could,
renewal, though, is, you have to do the whole process all over again to get the renewal?
no, I wouldn't think so, no. Wouldn't you? You could administratively renew it.
Well, we don't define what a renewal is, but you can have it specified for a certain amount of time, and if there are no complaints,
We have in the past have had special use permits that came up for review after a year or two, so that any problems inherent with them could be addressed by the board here and give the neighbors some kind of redress. That doesn't really seem to be the case in this instance, that this is a, my experience with tourist homes is that they tend to be a lesser use than a full-time occupied dwelling.
Exactly.
And, but I was just remarking on how that this is a contentious issue, and I think that was one of the reasons why the permit tended to go with the present owner as opposed to in perpetuity.
But we really only did that in the event of some controversy.
Generally, and it was generally with bed and breakfasts and not tourist homes. Something that had a higher and more intense use.
Okay. I mean, did you withdraw your second?
Yeah, oh, I just think that if it's customary not to have it run, the permit run with the owner, then there's no reason to do that here. You have no neighbors that are upset. You have one neighbor who's deceased. So I just don't see the issue.
Maybe you would like to take a stab at a motion?
I move that this special use permit be issued,
Okay.
period.
Is there a second to that motion? Bill, second.
I second that.
Bill's, okay. So is there any further discussion?
In reference to parcel 4C.
Oh, yeah, well, yes. And I don't know what I did with my paper. Oh, here it is, okay. So Stephanie made the motion, and who seconded it? Bill? Okay. So any further discussion?
Do we had a previous motion, was it ever seconded?
She withdrew
Yeah.
her second.
Oh, she withdrew the second, okay.
I guess no further discussion.
Can we just amend the application by changing the A and the C, and
Right.
is that enough?
Yeah, I just put that as a note on it, correct this tax map. I don't think we need to move on that.
Right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Thank you. Those are, yeah, I mean, there's a whole pile.
Thank you.
And this is just, each year we make a report to the circuit court about the activities of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the previous year. And since we did not have a meeting since January, this is the first. And I'm not proposing this to be adopted tonight necessarily, but I thought anybody who has some observations can, it's in its final form if it's acceptable, but if I've made a mistake or something needs to be added, I just thought we could put it on our next meeting agenda. Does that make sense? Would that be okay?
It appears fine to me. It's a formality. I'll make a motion that we pass it.
Second?
Okay. Is there any further discussion? So I basically took a spreadsheet and put all the permits on it and segregated them by type, and anyway, I think I did everything right. Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve this letter to the circuit court, our annual report. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. And then under new business, we have, Ron, your question about legal advice?
The nature of what we do here requires us to seek legal advice at times, just as individuals or as an entire board. And we've had problems with that recently as far as submitting requests and never receiving any answers from our county attorney. So what I'm proposing is that we make a decision to utilize the services of, and quite honestly, I don't remember the firm's name or our attorney's name from Roanoke, or I don't even remember where he's from.
Salem.
From Salem?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That we say that's going to be our source, and that if we have questions or whatever, I would suggest that we do it by email or whatever. And in the process of emailing, that if you're going to email a question, that you also send a copy to the chairman of the board, so he knows, he has some idea of what's going on, because there's going to be a financial obligation associated with this, but we have to have a timely source of information at times. So, and we would, the individual would be aware of the fact that we are going to be contacting him.
And what is the most recent advice we were seeking that we couldn't get?
I sent a email to the county attorney on the Churchill issue because of the change, because of the mistake in the plat, and whether that was going to be a problem if we were to pass it and not make any changes, or even in the advertising, and that essentially it was not advertised accurately. But I think that's not a huge problem. But I was seeking information from him. I sent it last Friday. I never received an answer. Well, I've got a copy of that, actually, if you'd like it.
Gary, we don't pay for arts services, do we? Or how does that work?
Mark really is not positioned to be your attorney, because he needs to be able to represent the zoning administrator, and in cases of appeal, he needs to be independent from the Board of Zoning Appeals. So the Board of Supervisors saw fit, I think, to give you a budget of $5,000.
Yeah, that wasn't just for litigation.
Yeah, it's for legal services.
Okay, but that is, that basically needs to be an understanding with all the board members that they are, if they got a question or whatever, that's how we get the answer. Well, then we need to ask him. I mean, they represent us through that. That's what I said. We need to set up something. And okay, if we have money in the budget, then yes, that's the process that we will follow. But everybody's on the same page. So we're not, I don't think it's good for us to have our own sources of legal opinions or whatever. And this way we're getting opinions from, and he also represents us, or has represented us when we need that service. So
You may want to modify your bylaws to make it clear through what process you can reach out to your attorney. Can any PCA member just call your attorney at any time and start the meter running? Does it have to be the action of the board? Is it the chair? Is it the secretary? So I would think that would be important for your body.
I agree.
So maybe we should take a stab at writing, because you're suggesting an amendment to.
Yeah, you already had the bylaws, it's probably one sentence somewhere.
Yeah, so you'll take a stab at what that one sentence will be.
We need to know where we can go. Get, information.
Well, we also need to know who can incur the expense. It does seem like, I'm guessing that this attorney is pretty expensive, and
Well, he's actually he was very reasonable, but I mean, that's, but
It would seem to need a vote by the board to obligate the board to that.
well, we could have
Liability.
an incidental, I mean, we could see if we can have an understanding where he
Yeah, I was going to say the
field a
problem
phone
with
call.
the,
Okay, so just feel him out as to whether or not he would do it.
Yeah,
I mean, the problem is that, I mean, if it was always done by a vote of the board, it lengthens out the process, and that if I'm looking at an application and I have a question as far as the legality of it, or a portion of it, or something that's going to affect the way I vote, I need to be able to go someplace and get an answer, and to go to bring it to a board meeting and table the application because of that question, and then have the people come back or whatever, is, I think that's unnecessary. So it would smooth out the process if we had, I think most places that, in larger areas or whatever, they've got an attorney on staff someplace, and you can, give them a question and they'll give you an answer. I mean, we don't have that, we don't have that option, but we have to have the ability to do that.
okay. Well, I'd say individual members could make an inquiry, but I don't think they would engage somebody for a substantial legal opinion.
It's a question. I mean,
Okay, so some incidental type of question, not incidental that it's not important, but just something that's not like getting a big legal opinion. So we wouldn't be, if we do want to do legal opinions, we would take a vote and engage, I think. Yeah, okay, I'd go with that. Well, do you want to put that sentence together?
yeah, like I said, we need to take a look at the bylaws then and come up with a change in the bylaws. And
So
then
who's going to call Lockerbie? Do you want me to call Lockerbie?
yeah, as the chairman, yeah,
I'll
go
call,
ahead.
okay.
That would be appropriate.
Okay. And what's the last one? Oh, I think it would be appropriate if we would just make some sort of certificate or resolution of appreciation for the service of both Jennifer Matthews and David Connick. I know I got on this board in 1990, and Jennifer was there, so, I mean, I don't
yeah,
know.
that's years of service, all right.
I don't know when she got on, but it was before 1990. And then David's been on, I think, for 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. So, anyway, is there some will to do that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Is that, okay. So, I'll see if, I think I've got a draft of one.
David was nice enough to give us a
Yeah,
draft.
but he didn't. But he didn't.
Not for himself, mind
Not
you.
for himself. Okay, well, are we concur that we'll do that?
Yes.
And- Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think that's it for tonight. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? So the new members, was that okay? That was kind of fun? Good work, good job. Okay. Okay, well, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
There was how many? You moved. Can we have 2 seconds then?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
All in, all
Aye.
out.
Thank you.